Hi everyone.
Hello.
I am Marie Collart, and I am someone who has actually experienced the work results of Feng Shui Master Diana Garber. And this morning when I came through, I was asked if I would have the honor and pleasure of introducing her, and I said I would love to do that. Can you imagine someone in the corporate world who is vice president of continuity and business success during 9/11? Workplace disaster. Someone who's worked through hurricanes, tornadoes, has helped people across the world as well as in this country. The feng shui she does, I've learned, is not what I originally was exposed to, which is kind of our Western version of the flute and the smoke and the mirrors, excuse me, but that's how I saw it. Hers is incredibly well-studied, well-researched, out of Eastern philosophy. Diana did my home, and I was amazed to learn that although one end of my home, when it was built in 1950, was due north, there was an 8-degree shift. What happened to that energy and the energy of the earth during that 8-degree shift? Diana's had great tragedy in her life. She's survived 20 surgeries, 2 near-death experiences. She has lost children. Coming from the corporate world, simultaneously looking for answers, she found those answers and started applying them in the corporate world and now in our world through feng shui. In my home, I had a dog that was very, very ill. I believe that illness was due to the environment. It was due to the energy flow in my home. Through a variety of techniques, and one which she used, my dog did get better, survived hepatitis. I opened up my home to friends, and now I'm engaged after 26 years of not having been with anybody. Yay! It helped. It helped. There are many forces at work there, of course. But it works. She is the real deal. This does work. And, you know, I think there's a little bit of skeptic in everyone. But my skepticism was set aside when I started seeing results. You must manage in a conscious way, or you're going to be unconsciously managed. So, Diana's a very giving, compassionate, loving person. I experienced that through her gift of helping the energy in a nonprofit that I just retired from after 32 years, in which we had security concerns and we had concerns regarding financial stability, which I think all nonprofits do in today's time. She helped us anchor that, and things are stable, and staff are happier, and the financial security and the security of everyone who comes in the building, it is much better. So it's just a privilege to introduce someone who has worked so very, very hard, studied so very hard, overcome so many tragedies in her life, helped so many people, and learned as she did so in her years and years of service, to talk to us about 2014. I was here for the 2013 talk, and believe me, many of the things she pinpointed we watched for, and they did come true. And I'm really looking forward to hope this is a little better year. It's been a rough year. It's been a rough year. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Diana Garber, our master.
So, you're here to learn about 2014. The good news is, it's a lot better than 2013 was. Yay! Oh my gosh, the breakdowns that we had in 2013. So, feng shui, I do classic feng shui, also known as traditional feng shui. So as Marie pointed out, it's different than what a lot of people think of as feng shui. This is actually based on numbers and algorithms, and I'm going to talk a little bit about physics, quantum physics today. So I love questions, I love participation, So feel free, have at it. I think I'm the last speaker in here today, so if we run over, just shows your interest, so yay, love it. So classic feng shui is based on numbers. The numbers are 1 through 9. Every number represents a different element and resonates a different type of energy. So it's when I look at the holistic interaction of a site, and that starts with the land, then the building, then the people in the space, that we understand what the challenges are, and when we minimize the challenges, the opportunities get to blossom. Okay? Well, what's interesting about 2014 is it is a number 4 year. 4 represents growth. It represents spring. It's reprieve from everything else that's been happening. So I do look for the economy to start coming back. Real estate's going to start coming back. Lots of good things, but like in life, there's always something to manage. So I want to share with you today some of the risk factors. Again, my background is in risk management. I look at everything in regards to risk, because if we're able to manage the risks, then we get to experience life with more joy and self-expression. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you some suggestions to what you can do in your homes to help manage the risk for 2014. It's not the same as having your house done, because we know what your house is, and you in the house, and Moki and Sir Knight in the house, but it's better than doing nothing. So I really hope that you take this and embrace it, because that's the whole reason I do these, is because I want you to have a better experience of life, and for you then to pay it forward, be present and loving, and share that information with others, okay? So classic feng shui does work holistically. It looks at everything. What is the combined energy and what is there? So it is number-based, but one number doesn't really tell us anything. It's the combination of numbers. So that's when it starts to get into algorithms and formulas that tell us what's going on. Really, when I look at the energy of a building, it, based on the numbers, can tell us the past, present, and future of a building. So that's when we take a look at the breathing association and what were the risk factors. Well, once we identified them, we could put a plan of action together. Some people say, oh, I don't think I want to know, kind of thing. But for me, I find it very empowering. So you get to make better decisions when you have more information. More informed choices means freedom. So classic feng shui is based on geomancy. Geo means the geography, in other words, Mother Earth. Mancy is the study of lines. So it is really about what's going on globally. So today, in regards to 2014 being the number 4, I could share with you some things you can anticipate that will be happening in the U.S., globally, and then again you can manage your response. Well, what does that mean? Well, it might mean that you not travel to a certain area because there's a probability of an earthquake. It might mean that you implement something in a particular area because you know it's going to affect your oldest son. Okay? So with classic feng shui, one of our tools is a compass. And so every direction of the compass, north, east, south, and west, variations of, affect different family members, different parts of business, different staff members, different body parts, and different functions of life. So when we're able to identify, as example 2014, and we'll get more into this, the energy that goes into the east is not very empowering this year. This year meaning 2014, because we're already experiencing that energy. Well, east is eldest son. So when I give you some characteristics of what that looks like, I'm going to see some heads saying, oh yeah, that's what's going on with my boy. Okay? So hopefully this is very, very good information for you to take. So let's start. Classic feng shui is the only form of feng shui that deals with timing. Timing is huge. That's how I'm able to sit here today and say, here's what's coming in 2014. And for people who are skeptics, I actually love skepticism. I love for people to ask questions in their own way and help them. For me, it's kind of like we'll do research together and come up with an action plan kind of thing. But for people who are skeptics about this, I stood in this very facility. It was the October of 2012, I believe, and talked about the energy that was coming to the east and that it was going to cause a hurricane, probably a tsunami, and then in January it happened to Japan. There's no gratification when somebody says, and I even put this on my blog, somebody wrote, ooh, got goosebumps. And they said one time, it's like, you must feel really good about, you predicted this. And it's like, first of all, I don't call it prediction, I call it a trend. And hopefully by knowledge, we can mitigate that trend. But there's no satisfaction when something huge like that affects so many people and it's tragic. Believe me, there's no sense of satisfaction. So by doing these type of talks, hopefully I'm giving you some insights that you can, like I said, maybe not go to a particular place for a vacation, change your travel plans before they're booked, kind of thing. So let's start off by talking about period 8. Period 8 goes from 2004 to 2024, so we're in period 8 now. And then 2014 is a 4. Okay, so you look at the energy of 4 and 8, and what does that look like? What does it mean? Well, what it tells us, so 8, period 8, is known as an earth number, and then 4 is known as a soft wood. Well, wood takes energy from earth. So it lets us know that there's a little bit of risk factor there to be managed. What that can mean at a very high level is potential stress on marriage, misfortune for young children, back problems, but it's really good for real estate. So that's fine, but it, again, this kind of takes it at the 50,000 foot level, then we go to 40,000 feet, 30,000 feet, and so forth. But this kind of lets us know what the potential is. It's not a prediction, it's not the truth, but what the potential is for 2014. So if you're in a relationship now and you notice that you're kind of not getting along as well, guess what? It's the energy. Well, you're going to let the energy manage you, or you're going to manage the energy. Okay, so we're going to talk about what you can do to manage the energy. So it really is about change. Now it's interesting because the animals all look at change as a very natural phenomenon. The squirrels are out gathering nuts when they know winter's coming and so forth. But we as human beings, change seems to be thrust upon us. We don't like change very much. But really life is about change. I mean, I've gone through tragedy, I've gone through crisis, I've gone through a lot of things. And I probably could very easily be sitting at home, drugs, alcohol, and feeling pretty sorry for myself. But that's not managing change, is it? That's being a victim of it, and I don't believe in victim mentality. So when we look at these kind of things and say, well, gee, marital stress, yeah, I'm fighting with my spouse or I'm fighting with my partner kind of thing, and it is what it is, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, please don't be that way. All right, I want you to be thinking about this in a very, very serious way. Now, part of the marital stress is the fact that 2014 is a 4-year. 4 is related to soft wood. I'm going to say that time and time again because I really want you to get this. The number 4 also has to be the vixen number. So it's about promiscuity. It's about flirtation. For single people, that's great. For married people, that might not be so great. So if you notice that somebody's flirting with your partner, well, it is the energy of the year. Now, what do you do with that? Don't get bent out of shape. Instead, think somebody might be flirting with you and have fun with it. Know that it's going to pass through. But the number 4 being the vixen, the flirtatious one, is what's affecting relationships. Okay, so we're going to talk about what to do about that. I worked with a nuclear scientist in New Mexico, and it's always fun to work with scientists and engineers and physicians, logic mindset, and evidence-based type of people. So I went into his house and I said, well, the energy of the Northwest is not empowering, and you're probably not happy in your job, and here's who you're not getting along with at work, and here's what's going on in your life, and all this kind of thing. And he was just dumbfounded by it. So he sat down and on a napkin drew this out for me. So you've got physics, movement, okay? Big and slow. So big object, you've got volume, and it moves at a very slow pace. That's called classic mechanics or Newtonian. I promise the rest of the conversation is going to be this tough, but I think it's really important to point out here. Big and fast. So you have voluminous, and it moves very fast. That's actually Einstein's theory of relativity, which is about space. Okay? Newtonian is the one, the apple comes down, the gravity hits the ground. Einstein is about space. Then we've got small and slow. So it's something that's smaller in regards to volume, and it's moving at a slow pace. That's quantum mechanics, quantum physics. Has to do with wavelengths. And then we get to small and fast, so it's a little volume, but it's moving very fast. That's relative mechanics. For me, classic feng shui is the quantum mechanics. It's not instant gratification. That's not the way it works. Other forms of feng shui, in my experience, are the fast and slow. Let me put a money frog near my front door and I get to be a millionaire. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. I work with OSU, and one of our rules of thumbs is that for every year you have a condition, you need to allow a month of healing. So with classic feng shui, we diagnose the energy, put together a customized action plan. When you implement the plan, it's going to take some time. But boy, when it takes hold, it really takes hold. And you get this consistent, powerful, magnetic type of energy that then continues to ripple effect kind of thing. So then all of a sudden, when I work with a client and they set out goals, they've not only achieved their goals, they've achieved all this other stuff. And that's the way it should happen. So feng shui really is quantum physics. How an example that I can share with you, and so I've been involved in a lot of research projects, and we took a group of young children and put them into a blue room. They were fine. Moved them to a red room. They became very agitated and combative. Moved them back to the blue room. They returned to their normal sweet selves. These children had no sight. They were blind.
Wow.
Energy resonates color. Color resonates energy. So, and Dave, my friend Dave, he's a former professor at OSU and taught industrial design. We're actually collaborating on a few projects, but he was in tune with that even before I came onto the picture, and was helping to design hospital spaces in regards to the energy and the impact it had on healing. So by the colors you wear, it affects everything. And so hopefully that's a supportive color. For those of you who have been down to our booth, sorry we don't have any appointments left, but we talk about your personal energy and what colors actually give you energy, okay? So when I started working with OSU, I was asked to do grand rounds, which is the educational forum for physicians and residents. And so, I had to stop and think, how do I explain feng shui, to the evidence-based mindset? And what I came up with is if you take the human cell and you put it into a nurturing environment, it's going to survive and thrive. If you take the human cell, you put it in a hostile environment, it's going to struggle and sometimes die. That is feng shui. It is how we react to our environment. And the world's kind of out of balance right now, wouldn't you agree?
Very out of balance.
Yeah. So let's talk about 2014. So we want to start with the center, and then we're just going to, just like with a compass, we'll start at north and kind of work our way around as to what the energy is. Right now we're going to talk about what the numbers look like, what the elements look like, That's why I gave you on your handout the elements: fire, earth, metal, water, wood, what the numbers are, so that you can start to process this conversation and hopefully embrace it. By the way, if you are intrigued by this and you'd like to read more about feng shui, the book that I recommend, believe it or not, is The Complete Idiot's Guide to Feng Shui. The yellow book, okay, it's written by Master Joseph Yu and Elizabeth Val, who Master Joseph Yu is one of my teachers, so it really is a very good book. What mostly happens is when people get to the middle and see all the numbers, are like, okay, no thanks, but it's worth a read. So the center's number is always 5, but 4 comes in for 2014. So we look at the dynamics of 4 and 5, and what does that give us? Well, as I explained, 4 is the temptress, so we'll be more inclined to be flirtatious and open and fun, okay? But wood draws energy from earth, so there are some things to manage. So, is anybody already experiencing any skin issues? That's the energy of the 4 and 5 coming together. Okay? So, you know, maybe it is our diet. Maybe it is lack of water. Maybe it is the environment, but maybe it is the energy. So there's something that can be done about that, and that's great. So the biggest concern for me for 2014 is 4 represents respiration. So for those of us who have allergies or asthma or have breathing issues anyway, that's an area of concern. Now, you had shared something downstairs. Would you mind sharing that with the group?
I'm a nurse, and I heard you speak last year, and you mentioned that there would be a lot of respiratory issues, and I think all of my patients have been in the hospital at least once for having some kind of respiratory issue, and that's not typical to have all of them in there. But this year, so far, I have noticed that my coworkers who normally do not get sick have been very, very sick, out for a week or 2 at a time. And usually nurses, we've been immune to everything, we've had it before. And so we don't usually get sick after the first year of being a nurse. One of my nurses who was out for a week has been a nurse for 26 years. This is very, I don't know if it's the tail end of this or something more coming in 2014, but it's been very prevalent. This respiratory bug is very bad going around.
And I've talked with Marie and the Breathing Association to put them on alert, because they help folks that have severe issues and sometimes can't leave their house. So we can all prepare for this. Now, I'm a big fan of doing things naturally. So my husband and I are taking something called Thieves, which is an essential oil from Young Living. And we've already started our daily regimen of using Thieves and purification, which is excellent for lungs.
How do you spell that?
Thieves, Thieves, and it's by Young Living. And we actually have some samples down at the booth, booth 1001. But, you know, I'm a very big proponent of that. So that's the kind of thing that if you have children or you yourselves are predisposed to breathing issues, or when flu season hits, you know, you notice that maybe, you know, it's a little worse, there's a little bit more phlegm, you know, use your vaporizers, use the oils, take precautions. You know your body better than others, or work with your medical professionals as to what you can be doing proactively in regards to respiration. It's definitely going to be an issue for 2014, and we're already in that energy. Now, is there anybody here that's already experiencing some of that? Yeah. Now you know why. It's the energy of the year. The upside about the number 4 is that it does represent soft wood. Soft wood is relationship-wise associated with spring, so it is, things are starting to grow now. So when you think of taking that seed and putting it into the ground, as soon as that ground, you know, the seed starts to sprout a little bit, it's like, Yay, big world out here. So lots of opportunities. So we are going to experience a much better year from that regard than we did this year, because 2013 is related to the number 5, and 5's about breakdown. Anybody experience that? Oh, yes. I keep teasing my staff that I'm going to write a book saying, stuff happens even to the feng shui lady. I lost a very dear friend this year, so it's been tough. All right, so let's take a look at, so we're going to work around the compass now, north, northeast, and so forth. North is always the number 1, which is a water number. You look on your chart there. And then the element that comes into the north for 2014 is a 9 fire number. Well, think about water and fire coming together. They don't necessarily play well together. Now, most people think, water puts out fire, which isn't true. If you remember your Boy Scout, Girl Scout days, it's earth, right? But when water and fire come together, steam,